We're getting ready for the press conference soon, so I'm just going to give everybody just a little bit more of what I'm experiencing here and what everybody else is experiencing on this hallowed ground. There are so I just want to make sure everybody sees how many stones are here, and probably
this right here.
Yeah.
there's stones throughout, and they go all the way down. So what you have is this buffer that they disregarded is a part of this hallowed ground, and this should never have been disturbed. It's almost there's another stone. It's uncomfortable to walk here. You feel like you are walking on top of precious souls.
Joanne.
Ashley, you can get more volume on that.
Yeah, I tend not to speak very loud.
Yes,
I'll have to put on some volume.
Yes, everybody needs to, we want to be able to hear it, because this is Facebook Live as well.
Where is your speaker?
It's coming from right here.
Oh my goodness. Okay, interesting.
So should I direct
Good,
it
how
to
are you,
so
Cher?
you can hear okay?
I guess both of us, if you can.
I think you should be, yeah, just don't cover the sign. Yes, but yes. That's perfect, Rhonda. That's perfect.
So thank you all for being here today.
Actually, would you, I know I've delayed you guys so much already. Would you mind holding off just another?
And we will start shortly as
Cameraman.
I'm
John
from
Steinbeck.
Any station besides Channel.
You don't want to be in the... Yeah, everybody should be in the press conference.
That's bad for my camera because the building is in the sun and you guys are in the shade, so I'll have to open my iris a lot to show the faces, and I can't have you guys with the building. Yeah.
how does it look from over there?
It looks like there's a massive industrial building next to hallowed ground with not much of a buffer. That's what it looks like.
Right.
Got Charlie Grimes.
Make sure you get a shot of how close that buffer is, how tiny it is.
All right. Thank you so profoundly. I cannot see them. When you're ready. So much. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here at the Gaskin-Sevenson Cemetery, a resting place for enslaved and free people of color from even before the Civil War. My name is Ashley Studholm, and I'm the Executive Director of the Prince William Conservation Alliance. I will keep my comments brief as I want to provide ample time for our headliner speakers today. I am joined with Joanne Gaskin and her sister Debbie, Miss Linnell Naylor, and Frank Washington. Over the years, we have witnessed a troubling trend of Black cemeteries being demolished, desecrated, and disrespected. It is clear that the county must do more to protect these sacred sites. We are speaking today because we are troubled by the recent report that within a short period of time, 2 Black cemeteries have been damaged as a result of prioritizing data center expansion, seemingly over everything else. We are next to one. The other is another Gaskin cemetery, just a few miles down the road. In honor of their lives, their struggles, their loves, and their triumphs, and in recognition of Juneteenth today, a day that represents freedom and the ongoing arc towards equality and justice, I invite us all to take a moment to remember that we are on hallowed ground. And we are here because we are troubled by the lack of transparency and accountability to adequately protect these cemeteries. Prince William County is rich in history, much of which remains untold, or at least undertold. This history is intricately linked to the lands and the life that has sprung from it. From the tidal wetlands to the Bull Run Mountain, our lands are rich and have supported people for thousands of years. In the environmental community, I have heard speakers talk about the erosion of the sacred. And by sacred, I mean something that we hold value of beyond economic gains. How might we behave if we held water sources and trees to be sacred? Clean air and clean water are pretty basic, right? I remember listening to one environmentalist as they confidently stated that cemeteries were the only thing that is still sacred. This struck me because when I look at the county, that's not what I see. There are certainly laws that protect cemeteries, but how would we develop if this place and the other Gaskin Cemetery and the cemeteries of Thoroughfare were sacred? When news first broke of land disturbance in the buffer here, the Piedmont Environmental Council filed a FOIA request for a site plan to determine the exact delineation of the cemetery. The county was charging over $250 for prints to be made, leaving us wondering why something that should be readily available is so expensive. PWCA issued a FOIA request for any complaints related to the cemetery, but the county responded that there was nothing. Later, in a Prince William Times article published last week, we discovered that there was a dewatering issue from a drainage hose directing stormwater from the data center construction onto the Gaskin site. Our experience with the county leaves us questioning why this information is so difficult for us to obtain. There is, of course, benefits to development. There are benefits to building data centers, but there are also costs. It is the county's responsibility to ensure that standards, processes, and state and local laws are upheld to mitigate those costs. Our county archaeologists, whose full-time job was to follow up and be proactive regarding these types of instances, have been promoted to long-range land use, leaving his time divided across more responsibilities. With the rate of growth that we're seeing, we probably need 2 full-time county archaeologists. The rate of development has stretched staff too thin. I know I certainly feel that way. It's been a struggle to keep track of the millions of square feet of data centers being developed and the numerous historic and natural assets that are being threatened. From both of our national parks to streams and wetlands, to our drinking water supply, and now these cemeteries. The rapid increase of development that's occurring throughout the county has been impossible for residents and organizations like us to keep up and keep track of everything. But it is the residents, the land, and these cemeteries and the people buried here that suffer the consequences. The Historic Commission has called on the county to review its current practices and supervision of construction near parcels containing cemeteries. I would go a step further and include other historic and natural assets. With development, whether residential, data centers, or commercial, we have seen wetlands filled in, resource protection areas cut down, and historic cemeteries disregarded with little to no consequences.
Yeah.
We need the county to do a better job citing appropriate development and overseeing development once applications are approved. Otherwise, we will be here again and again.
And again.
Without full-time staff dedicated solely to tasks of oversight, we will continue to be reactive instead of proactive. If what we have seen in Thoroughfare and here are indications, what can we expect for major projects like the Prince William Digital Gateway and the impacts to the history of Thornton School and Ginny Dean, or the projects like the data center being proposed next to Prince William Forest Park, where we could be doing so much more to highlight the historic lands of the Barnes House. This county could proactively protect and highlight and showcase these areas, these histories, and these stories as part of their tourism strategy.
Yeah.
How would we develop if we built in a way that valued our historic and natural assets, in a way that honors the intrinsic value of the land? And with that, I will pass on the mic to the next speaker, and I'll allow her to introduce herself, Joanne Gaskin.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Here today because they have destroyed 2 cemeteries.
Speak into the mic.
Oh, the one here and the one on Wellington Road, 89 Wellington Road for Northern Virginia Electric. They turned the stones upside down. They cut the trees off, and they're saying that nobody knows anything about it. But your average Joe is not going to go in and cut the trees down and tie ribbons on there and then destroy them. They're off the pedestals, everything. It's just a mess, and it's heart-wrenching to see that. Not only that, I had requested that they do a monument of some type because the land was there, the history was there, the Black Horse Show, racetrack, and they refused to do any of that. In my opinion, it's all monetary gain. The county won't do anything about it. The county is all for it. They let them do it. When I went to the meeting, they won't do anything about it. I think they should do more studies to find out about the data centers before they let them come in. It's not that many jobs that you can make from being at the data center. It's just not a good thing, and they're just not doing what they should do for the residents and the dead. It's just a shame. It really is. I've never seen anything like it. When I went there, it was awful. And here, the same. It's been disturbed up there on the other side where they filled in for the erosion. It's awful. And nobody would want their loved ones to have to go through that. Not at all. It's a crime thing.
Thank you, Joanne. Our next speaker is Miss Janelle Mailer.
Oh, there's a stone right by your
Thank you.
feet.
So just piggyback off what Ms. Dashkin said. I am here representing all descendants of the Dashkin and related families. We are on the same accord as far as making sure that the cemetery is preserved. We are aiming and praying for a historical marker. Because I came here probably about 2 weeks ago and was not able to find the cemetery. There's nothing that identifies the cemetery, and when I finally came here, my heart was heavy. There is one headstone here that represents probably 100 or more families that are buried here at the cemetery. We have
right there.
enslaved, because we know that this was an enslaved community, and then they were freed in the late 1700s. So this is historical land, just like Ms. Daskin said, and we just want to make sure that it is maintained, that it's cleaned up, and that some of the debris is removed from the cemetery, and so many others. We have one that's around the corner that's near the Novak Data Center. I went to visit that cemetery last week, and there are only 4 visible headstones. So we know that, you very usually don't go to a cemetery, you just see 4 headstones. So we know that there are other families buried there as well. So we're asking, and we're praying as a family for a historical marker, and that this cemetery be deemed as historical land. So thank you for allowing me to share.
Good afternoon. My name is Frank Washington. I'm from Fair. Juneteenth was thought to be the end of black families begging to have their loved ones stripped from them. It was thought to be the ending of bodies beaten and battered. Yet, here we are with those who have already endured so much, having their bodies desecrated while bulldozing and flooding in their graves. Yet, here we are again in a sense begging for our family and our loved ones, tormented with the same power and privilege mentality that has stained us in the past. A stain of being constantly devalued, now even in death. Why does your idea of progress have to be continually at the expense of black resting places? Why are we still so easily overlooked, displaced, or disposed of? Isn't it the same mentality that we believe Juneteenth was freeing us from? Yet, as I stand here today, because it seems that in this county and many surrounding communities, it appears that black bodies are once again up for sale to the highest bidder. Once again, they are being viewed as less than. I can make that statement because I have been living in that nightmare for over 3 years now in my hometown of Thoroughfare. As we have fought for accountability for the complete destruction of one of our documented cemeteries, just a few miles from here. I see this happening over and over again, and only with slave, freed slave, and indigenous cemeteries. Why is this? We have established cemetery laws and codes that are continually being ignored, which means a lack of protection for the living as well as the dead. People whose jobs are in part to protect these sacred grounds are looking the other way, or hoping that no one notices what is being done under the cover of darkness. In many cases, I can't even say under the cover of darkness, because it is in full view, because they know that they will be exempt from accountability for such abhorrent actions. That is the message being sent through the inactions in stopping this carnage of our cemeteries. No consequences for crooked and perverse actions, no punishment for the rampant immorality, greed, and movement of devastation that devalues once again the existence of those laid to rest in the hallowed ground of Prince William County. We have those in positions, both black and white, that are seemingly becoming the embodiment of history repeating itself in regards to the treatment of black lives. Those resting within what should be seen as sacred grounds, even in their graves, it must be remembered that they still have value and significance. I have referred several times as I have spoken out against the attacks on my documented cemeteries in Thoroughfare to a will that I found for a plantation owner, Ed Carter. The Cloverland plantation. Within the assets listed on this will are the names of slaves, with the price listed next to each one ranging from $50 to $500. That was difficult to digest. The written reality of the lack of value and a price put on a black human life. But what hurt me most was to see some of my ancestors on this will listed as worth nothing or as idiots. Aren't these ongoing actions we are witnessing time and time again with our resting loved ones pretty much saying the same thing? As we watch our cemeteries being desecrated without repercussions, as we see our history being torn apart, threatened, or erased, isn't it the same lack of value that we and those trying to rest in their graves have continually faced? Aren't those lives once again paying the price for the riches of others? Inequality now reaches into our graves, just as it reaches those of us standing. Justice is even denied those resting souls who have already endured so much. This is a race-based fight we are in to preserve, protect, and defend the history and bodies of our ancestors. I can say that because it is only these historically black and indigenous cemeteries that are facing these atrocities. The difference in this fight is that there are those on all levels of race and authority that have seemingly lost their sense of generational wealth when it comes to our history and its importance. A history which includes those lying in the grave scattered throughout our county. You have those that are more attached to power than to justice or a sense of true community when it comes to preserving that which gave us the foundation of the freedoms that we enjoy today. The lives that paid a price with their pain and anguish. Many of those lives now in the graves around us are facing that pain and that anguish once again. Good government should change things for the better, to even move us forward with respect and decency, the preservation and the protection of this collective history. Protection for those of us that are living today and the voices of the ones that are crying out from their graves. Yes, sometimes the changes and challenges of life can be complicated. Sometimes those changes and challenges can be simply a matter of what is right and what is wrong. And we can never stop believing in the worth of fighting and standing for what is right. It is a matter of justice. It is an ongoing struggle to achieve a promise of equality. It should not be about politics, but it is a matter of integrity, morals, decency, and values. It is also a matter of what and who is deemed as worthy within our communities. On Juneteenth, our ancestors walked into the joy of freedom, knowing in their hearts they were strong and worthy. Despite centuries of abusive action, they had continually attempted to strip them of their value, their worth, and their contributions. Yet they continued to believe in themselves and their right to happiness, dignity, respect, and a better life, a life of freedom. Through that belief, they built communities that thrived and flourished despite insurmountable odds. Our communities today are built upon the shoulders of those who persevered to give us a better life, built upon the pain, agony, blood, and sweat, tears, but also upon the love of those who constantly prayed for a better day. I ask our Prince William County officials to take a stand and put a stop to this ongoing dismantling and attacks on our slave, freed slave, indigenous, and ancestral cemeteries. I ask Prince William County to show them and us that this is that better day, that the hearts of people are now better. Let our families, our loved ones, rest in the peace they deserve, with the respect, dignity, and value that they deserve. Prince William County, please do not fail to protect and uphold your responsibility to all of your citizens, both dead and alive. Thank you.
Good job. Good job. This is I mean, the buffer is the damage. This was clear. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The main issue is that many people realize that all of these communities are connected. We have communities that this is all they have. They're fair, this community is the African family that have amazing areas. These are all communities that only heard had a particular area where they could live free, and live a life and have what they had. But for some reason it seems that knowledge is being suppressed. And I believe that it is being suppressed because if we talk about the full history of this area, then it elevates it. Elevated brings more attention.
You gotta protect it.
Therefore, we had a capacity for people, not once, but several times, despite the fact that it was documented. That's another issue. We have the secretaries that are actually documented with the county. They're not something that's lost or in some of these areas. They are documented with the county itself. And yet that documentation is being ignored. On top of that, you have the laws imposed that should be in place to protect these areas. Now those laws imposed are also being ignored as well, and all for the same purpose, which is to keep others from us, which is what has happened historically. We try many times to keep race out of the conversation, but when you see it only hitting our areas and our families, it's hard to keep them out of it. But it's not just a black-white issue. It's about money. Money is black and white. Everybody is black right now. But that greed is involved in part of the budget. Acknowledge and to uphold their own laws and codes. If we see these things being instructed, we have laws in place. Utilize them. Don't ignore them. But that leaves the door open for this to continually happen over and over again. And that's exactly what we've seen. I said this 3.5 years ago in therapist that that was the beginning of an onslaught that wants to come. And it was. And I said at that time, we have an opportunity now to stop this, to take this history and elevate it, and show how it should be done, show how it should be respected. And that was ignored because of, in my opinion, because of the money that's involved in the hurricane that has always kept the stairwell shut.
Speak so well, my friend.
Okay, I think that's the end of the press conference, and everybody did a great job, and everybody needs to get engaged here. The fence that you see here, that fence was actually violated the buffer, and so all this replanted grass where people could be buried and probably are buried was disturbed, and that is the damage. And the damage is also, we just seem to ignore these special places, and Frank did a really eloquent job of describing, you know, this narrative that we are losing of our history, of Prince William and also the nation.